Good morning. My name is Melinda Moulton, and I'm your host. This is Moments with Melinda, and I'm here with Nicole Clegg. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so thrilled to have you. Let me tell my viewers a little bit about you, Nicole. Nicole is the CEO and president of Planned Parenthood of Northern New England. Nicole has been with the organization since 2013. Planned Parenthood highlighted her efforts in expanding the scope of the organization's public affairs department and her role in passing proactive legislation to improve access to abortion and family planning. About right?
Right. That sounds pretty good.
Well, great to see you, Nicole. And to my viewers, I just want to let you know that I served on the board of Planned Parenthood of Northern New England for 9 years, and I do continue to serve on the PPNE Vermont Action Fund, and have done for over a dozen years. So, and also that Planned Parenthood includes the states of Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, and Nicole is from New Hampshire and represents all three states as the newly appointed president and CEO. It's a big job.
It is. It is. First, thank you for your service and commitment. It's not easy to be a board member of a large nonprofit, and we're really grateful when we have people who raise their hands and say they want to volunteer their time. Planned Parenthood of Northern New England is the largest reproductive and sexual health care provider in Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. We have 15 health centers across the region. And then we like to say we have 16 because then we also have a very robust telehealth program. And, we provide care for thousands of people in the region. And we see everyone regardless of ability to pay, which makes us pretty unique and special in the community.
Well, let's thank you for that, Nicole, for that. It's really important. But let's start at the beginning.
Yes.
Go back and talk to a little bit about you and your childhood and what brought you to this moment in time in your life.
Gosh, I like to say that it was sort of like in my DNA. I think I was always, certainly my parents had a big influence in sort of my worldview and the understanding of how important it is to have, agency over the decisions you make, whether that's to start a family or to not start a family, to be informed about your body and have access to good quality education. I attended a all women's college in Massachusetts. And so I would say that like whatever my parents gave me got cemented during those 4 years of school. And it really made me kind of understand, and I've been lucky enough to be able to sort of apply that in my career, that people and women need equal opportunity. And for equal opportunity to truly exist, they've got to be able to make decisions about their reproductive health. So, I've been able, I think of myself as very fortunate and lucky to be able to work in this field. I have given 12 years to Planned Parenthood of Northern New England, but I've also participated or worked for other agencies that were involved in this work too. So it's sort of been my life's work in many ways. That's how I like to think about it.
Would you say that your parents were the greatest inspiration, who helped direct you to do the work that you're doing today?
I think so. My parents, my dad was an attorney, and he was like when he graduated from college, participated in Vista, and so did sort of gave his time and was really committed to public service, and so giving back. And my mom, when she was in college, actually sort of left school to go to participate in the civil rights movement. So, I think that they both had like a deep commitment to service and equality. And that sort of like translated in lots of different ways for me. I was like, this is going way back. When I was in high school, I was able to be a Senate page for Senator George Mitchell, and that also kind of opened my eyes to what policy looks like and how people make decisions. So, I would say, yes, my parents were very influential and sort of, I think, planted the seeds to how I would view the world and how, I think that there was always an understanding that if you had good fortune, if you were able to sort of go to college and, have opportunity, you had a duty to give back.
Here, here. Well, when I was on the board, you were the public affairs director for Planned Parenthood of Northern New England, New Hampshire. And then you stepped up as the interim CEO of Planned Parenthood for a couple of years. And now you are the CEO and president of Planned Parenthood of Northern New England. How are you finding your work during these incredible, challenging times for reproductive health? I mean, how are you coping?
That's a good question. I think, one, I'm incredibly grateful for the staff, and few people get to work in an organization where every day there's someone whose life is impacted by being able to access our services. We have incredible health center staff. They actually provide award-winning care. We're evaluated every year by an organization called Press Ganey and get and sort of like receive top marks. We are in the 95th percentile across the country. So that really speaks to sort of like how we treat the people who walk through our doors. So I think I take a lot of stock. I try as much as I can to be in our health centers and sort of like get that like, firsthand view of the impact that we have. But I'm not going to lie, these are really challenging times. And my commitment to the organization and to the communities we serve is to be as stable as possible. When there's so much chaos and noise out there, I want, what I keep saying is like the people when they walk in through the door are going to have common safety. We can't change what's happening outside, but what we can do is provide what we can once they get into our health centers.
So Nicole, let's focus for a second on Vermont,
Mhm.
and what our little state has done to support women's reproductive health.
Well, Vermont gets to have that sort of special claim around amending their state constitution to put reproductive liberty in there, and that's pretty spectacular. I'm incredibly proud of what the Vermont voters have said really clearly about how important this is. It's a pretty high threshold to get 2/3 of your electorate to vote for something, and
And every
Vermonters may not
county,
know.
and
I'm
every
sorry, go ahead.
in every county,
Yes.
in every
Yes.
county. So first we had H 59, which put in a bill, a law
Yeah.
to codify abortion and reproductive health, and then we pushed it through the Constitution. So my question, I guess, that my viewers are probably curious about is what happens to all of these protections here in Vermont if Washington passes a national abortion ban.
That's the sad news here, right? Is that as much as a state like Vermont can do to protect its citizens and the people who are coming to Vermont for healthcare, the federal government still can trump what we're doing here. So I think that if Congress were to pass an abortion ban, that would affect every person across the country. I am somewhat, like from a practical standpoint, I think that pursuing an abortion ban in Congress is unlikely right now, just because there really aren't the 60 votes that they would need in the Senate to advance a piece of legislation. I think what's more troubling to me are these kind of the executive orders, these sort of like sideways approaches that they can take to restrict access. And if they do that, that will impact Vermont people.
And
So that is something that we have to be careful about.
And since Roe went down, it was all thrown back to the states. And so these legislators, these primarily men,
Yeah.
white men, are passing these bills in their states that are causing, horrific results for women. So talk to us about some of the horrors that people are
Mhm.
experiencing since Roe v. Wade went down 3 years ago.
Yeah. So, today, 1 in 3 women of reproductive age are living in a place where they don't have legal access to abortion. So that in and of itself is pretty stark. It means that people are afraid to access the care that they need. It means that we see many of those patients traveling to, Vermont, which is a far distance. If you think about the fact that like someone in Oklahoma might be coming here because this is the place where they think they can safely access abortion care and that their privacy will be protected.
Share
You
that
know,
story Nicole, I don't mean to
Mhm.
interrupt, but there is a
No.
story about a woman who came here, which I think our viewers should hear. Would you
Mm-hmm.
share that with us?
Yeah, of course.
Thank-
So I mean, like one, there are many stories, but this is one in particular that happened relatively recently. We had a patient who was not English speaking, so we were relying on translation services to communicate with them. And the patient had made an appointment for a medication abortion in one of our health centers that just provides medication abortion. And so when through the translator, we started to understand that the patient was from Louisiana and intended to return back to Louisiana the next day. So would have started the medication abortion pills, but would still be pregnant, would not have completed the abortion when she returned back to the state. We, sort of when we learned that information, became really concerned because the state of Louisiana, one, has a full abortion ban in place, but also has reclassified the drugs that are used for medication abortion as scheduled drugs. So there was a risk not only to the patient going back with the pills, but there was a risk to our clinician who prescribed them. So, relying on a translator, having these conversations, we asked if the patient would be open to or would consider a procedural abortion, which is an abortion that we would provide in a health center. And then they would leave no longer pregnant and not have this kind of risk. And she was, she actually would prefer that as the option. But we don't provide procedural abortions at the health center she was at. So we do provide them at another health center. That health center didn't have anything scheduled for that day. So we called a clinician who had the day off. That clinician said, I'll get childcare, I'll drive, I'll meet the patient there. We kept that health center open late after hours so that she could get in, be seen, get the abortion procedure that she needed and leave no longer pregnant and then return back to her state with no risk.
What a
It's
story.
just incredible. Yeah.
What a story. And,
Yeah.
probably you see a lot of that. So Nicole, what can we do to protect our trans and LGBTQ
Mm.
plus populations that are served by Planned Parenthood? And they are in the direct line of attack by the Trump administration. What can we do?
So this is really troubling. And we saw executive orders signed on kind of day one, January 20th, that were really targeted towards trans people. And, I think, like it says something that some of the first executive orders that were signed were about targeting a very small population of people who rely on this healthcare. And, all of a sudden their lives were sort of like, turned upside down. The good news is that the courts have taken strong action. So when the Trump administration has been sued over these executive orders, they have been losing in the courts. So it's meant that there's been a pause in any of this action. It doesn't conclude things. Like there's still, opportunity, and we haven't seen any slowdown of targeting trans people. I would say for folks that are concerned about this, they should get involved. They should make sure that they are up to date on the information. There are lots of organizations like ours. We are committed to providing high quality care for our patients. There are other LGBTQ organizations that they can sign up with. I would say for parents of trans people, PFLAG is an excellent organization that they should be looking at being engaged in. They're one of the plaintiffs in the lawsuits. So, it is important that we maintain humanity as this continues and we continue to see people as people. So I think there are lots of ways to do that. It's being an ally, it's showing your support, it's even just being a safe space in this moment of real fear that
Here,
our
here,
trans patients are experiencing.
here, here.
Yeah.
So, Nicole, what advice do you give to my viewers to protect themselves from what we might see coming? A ban on contraception, certainly a national ban on abortion, trans and LGBTQ healthcare. What advice do you give to my viewers to protect themselves?
Well, I think there's the get involved, sign up for us and our email lists, be, be really clear and understanding about like what is happening. I would say for your health, I mean, like I continue to encourage people to make the best decisions for themselves. So, some people that means getting an IUD. Other people are very happy with, taking birth control pills. So it's really about like select the method that's the best for you. Certainly, long acting reversible contraceptives like IUDs and implants can last many years. And we've actually seen a real bump in our patients choosing those as options because they're sort of like, I want to make sure that I have, that I'm covered for the next 4 years. So, folks that are concerned about that, opting for a LARC, like an IUD makes a lot of sense.
And getting Plan B,
Mhm.
you can get,
Yep.
and things that you can get it through the mail, right?
Yeah. 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 So Plan B is a type of emergency contraception. It's something that people can take if they're worried after sex that they might become pregnant. It's not an abortion, it's a birth control method. I mean, we encourage people to just always have some in the medicine cabinet.
There you go.
You just never know. There can be, moments where you find that you need this. It is important to make sure that you're choosing the best type of emergency contraception for you, and there are weight considerations depending on your weight, which one might be the best method. So certainly, make an appointment with us. We can
Exact.
work, yeah, we can work with you to make sure that you have the best one available.
Call Planned Parenthood of Northern New England. So give us the website. I know when I go on the website, I get the national website. What's the best website for folks to go on, Nicole?
So for us, Planned Parenthood of Northern New England, they just have to type that in and
And
or they can go Planned Parenthood Vermont and they'll find us that way too. They can schedule an appointment online. I mean, it's really easy now for folks to be able to, set themselves up as a patient, get good information. We often have same day, next day appointment availability. So if somebody's worried and like has an urgent need, we'll do our best to see them.
and Planned Parenthood provides health care. So,
Yes.
focus on, but all health care. And it's also, you know, provides health care for people like me, for older people as well. So I have a question for you that's been bugging me a lot. Why is it that vasectomies and erectile enhancing drugs are covered by insurance, but many female health procedures are not, nor are female hormones like estradiol covered? Why is just a bit of information. I'm on that and I have to pay full boat for it. So why is that?
Well, I think the simple answer is that our healthcare system is geared toward the experience of white men, and other patients, especially women, don't benefit in the same way. I share this fact with people because I think it's really illuminating. The procedure that we provide at our health centers that is valued the most by the healthcare system is vasectomy.
Here. Yeah.
And, that really says something. Like, we provide a huge amount of women's health care, and reproductive health care and, abortion care, IUD insertion, um, wellness exams, cancer screenings. None of that has the same value in our healthcare system as the procedure or, services that we provide to men. And by value, I mean how we are compensated. So, we are just not compensated in the same way for this type of care that we are as, I mean, like vasectomy.
Yeah. It's so misogynistic. So Nicole, where do you see the future of reproductive health care under the patriarchal powers taking root in America? I mean, this is truly a war on women. I mean, truly it is. I feel like it's the American Taliban keeping
Yeah.
us keeping us barefoot and pregnant. So we can't have jobs, we can't have economic security. So where do you see the future?
So I think that there's two sides to this coin. The first is that we've made a lot of important medical advancements. So, let's celebrate that. Like there are more options for birth control. We have medication abortion and they can get that through the mail today. So like we have made real strides in terms of improving access and the options for people when it comes to their reproductive health. So, celebrate that while we are also operating in a very hostile political environment right now. and one that is, I mean, we take very, very seriously. We know what the last 4 years of a Trump administration caused. I mean, it led to the overturning of Roe versus Wade. It led to our organization having to leave the federal Title X program, which is the federal family planning program, because they required people who participated to censor information that they would be providing to their patients. We have seen sort of with these initial executive orders, some are, already attempts to, you know, impact especially abortion and gender affirming care or trans care. So, I'm proud of what we've been able to do, but I also see this very harsh reality around, what politics could do to access to care over the next 4 years.
And with that, let's move into the financial struggles
Yeah.
that Planned Parenthood of Northern New England are going through, primarily because you provide free and reduced care to anyone who walks through the door,
Yeah.
and you have to subsidize that. And with the cutback of federal funding, that puts the organization in a financial pickle, correct?
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were already navigating some challenging financial situations. COVID impacted us just like it impacted all healthcare providers. We saw, people leave the industry. So we dealt with a lot of turnover. Then on top of that, what I talked about in terms of like how our healthcare is reimbursed, it's not adequately, it does not cover the cost of providing the care, which is just, it's totally unacceptable. And then on top of that, and especially in the last couple of years, we've seen an increased demand for free and discounted care. I mean, because people are struggling. People are dealing with, poor insurance or no insurance. They don't have a lot of financial resources. So they're turning to us because they know that we're not going to turn them away. But that means that we have to turn to the community and say, please help us, cover the cost of this care.
So how do people, and so people can go online and make a donation to Planned Parenthood of Northern New England, just Google it in, or they can send a check to the office.
Yep.
And I wanted to just say, how do we make certain that the doors of Planned Parenthood clinics across the country are kept open? And I guess part of that is to help them to go to them as a patient, to use them and use their services, and also to make a donation, no matter how small. Any donation to Planned Parenthood of Northern New England is we're so grateful for that. So I really encourage my viewers to go to Planned Parenthood of Northern New England and make a donation. No donation is too small. Thank you so much for that. Right, Nicole?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, and absolutely, I would say, to your point, become a patient. We provide wellness exams, we provide flu shots. If you are dealing with perimenopause or menopausal needs, like we provide that type of care. I joke, nobody knows hormones like Planned Parenthood knows hormones. So if you're in that situation, turn to us. You'll get exceptional care. In addition to that, if at some point in your life you did benefit from our care and now you're in a different position, if you can give back, if you can contribute, if you can support so that we can be there for the next generation, that would make a huge difference.
Here, here. Here, here. And I've been using Planned Parenthood services for most of my lifetime. So I encourage all of you to do as well. So I'm wondering, why doesn't the news media cover the issue of women's reproductive rights and the horrors being seen around the country? I mean, why is it not something that's covered by our mainstream media?
I think it has been, it sort of ebbs and flows. Certainly when Roe got overturned, all of a sudden people started to pay attention because they'd
But
lost
since
their
then,
rights. Yeah.
mhm.
I think we do our very best to educate the public and try to get the word out. I would say right now it is hard. There's just so much coming at people to try and sort of like draw attention to what's happening. I think that the tragedy there is that, people are being harmed. Either they're being forced to continue a pregnancy that they didn't want to, or we're seeing in many of these states that banned abortion, like the maternal health outcomes failing, newborn and infant health outcomes falling because people aren't being able to make their decisions about when they want to start a family.
And I'm wondering here, I hear here on that. And of course I try to write, editorials and commentary, and I think we all need to speak up and speak out about this because this is such a huge issue. So do you think we'll ever see a national Roe v. Wade again, or is that off the table with the Supreme Court? What about a national constitutional amendment? I mean, 78% of this country support a woman's right to reproductive health and the right to choose. Um, do you see this improving at any time in the near future?
Well, what is the Martin Luther King Jr. quote about the long arc towards justice? I think we do have to take a long view here. It is unlikely that we're going to see movement over the next 4 years at the national level. But that doesn't mean we stop fighting. That doesn't mean that we then, turn to each state. And as you've seen with election outcomes, when it's put on the ballot, it wins, and it doesn't matter if it's a red state or a blue state or a purple state. People care deeply about protecting their abortion rights. So I would say that just like our opponents have tried to take it to the states, we're taking it to the states too, which is let's protect where we can. Let's, make this a toxic political issue. And you saw that a bit at the end of the presidential election this past year, where the Trump campaign spent millions of dollars online, creating confusion about his position on abortion rights, so that many voters thought that he would support abortion rights. So they know, just like we know, that this is a deeply unpopular position. Certainly, I hope they're thinking about that now as they're considering, pursuing different types of restrictions under the Trump administration, that they're going to be very unpopular and there's going to be a political cost.
Well, it was a day too when we had to go underground. I mean, the whole history of the Women's Health Center, and I mean, women will find a way to reproductive health and the right to choose. The question is whether it'll be legal and safe.
Yeah.
And that's the horror here that we're facing. So what do you have on for the rest of your day? Give me an example of what are you gonna be doing today other than my interview? What's up?
So I get to meet with a women's donor organization after this. They're interested in sort of, thinking about what they want to do over the next few years. So I'll get to sort of have a similar conversation with them that I'm having with you. I have the opportunity to connect with some of our public affairs staff. These are the folks that are doing the advocacy work at the state capitol and get some updates. They're doing some incredible work in Montpelier, and I'm really proud of the team and what they're doing. They are advocate. I mean, like the point I made about how inadequate our reimbursement rates are, like they're up at the state capitol talking about that's an injustice and are trying to move the dial. So they're having some success, knock
And
on
Phil
wood.
Scott, and just to segue for a second, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but Phil
No,
Scott has been a real supporter
yeah,
of Planned Parenthood, and he stepped up when funds were pulled.
yeah.
Do you expect that to continue
I mean,
from our
certainly that's our
government?
hope.
Yes.
Yes.
He's
We've been very fortunate. Yeah.
and by the way, to my viewers, you should all write a letter to Phil Scott and encourage him to continue to support Vermont's commitment to women's reproductive health. And everyone should write a letter to Phil and thank him and encourage him to continue to do so. Um, so, we're coming to the end of this time. I mean, I could talk to you for a whole day. And I want to thank you, Nicole. I'm going to go up here so people can see us together. Um, I want to thank you for everything that you and your incredible staff are doing. And it's really up to us, the public, the people who care about freedoms for women and trans and LGBTQ, and also for men, because Planned Parenthood provides a lot of services for men to ensure that we protect this organization. It's been around for 100+ years. And so go to Planned Parenthood of Northern New England, make a donation. Uh, go start, if you're not already, get your services there. They are an incredible health provider for many, many things. So become a patient, become a client. And anything else that I missed, Nicole, do you think?
I think you did a lovely job. I would say, even if you can't make a donation, sign up, get involved. Like your time is valuable too, and we would happily, have you engaged. You can show up at the state capitol and support, or, provide just a little bit of your time to help us do what we do.
And protest. I mean, let's get out there and speak up, and we have the International Women's Day coming up on Saturday, and I know there's going to be people at the State House. This may not be out by then, but anyway, it's such a delight to see you again. I've missed seeing you, but I work closely with you on the Action Fund, and will continue to do so until my dying days. So thank you for your selfless work on behalf of
Thank
all of
you.
those who are in need
Thank
of
you
it.
so much.
You're my hero. Thank you. And to my viewers, thank you for checking in and being here, and being on this show and listening to Nicole Clegg, the president and CEO of Planned Parenthood of Northern New England, share a little bit about her story and the story of this great organization. I appreciate you being here. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.